if you're the Glazers and you're a businessman and you couldn't give a about English football besides the opportunity it presents to you, you've just invested nothing. You've received back hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds.
The one who's got real talent is Fernandes.
Ten Hag.
He won't be kidding the players. He won't be kidding people who know about football. There'll be a new coach in place next year.
What will happen with Ratcliffe is it'll be 10% better than it is now. You think they could win the league?
4 transfer windows.
Welcome to episode 13 of Simon and Souness. I feel the need to start this show with an apology for my absence last time. I'm leaving you in.
Can I assure you weren't missed? You weren't missed.
Well, my point was, I've seen the numbers.
I believe the numbers have gone right through.
And tragically, the numbers tell a different story.
Tell me they're not. Tell me they were greater for last week than...
Sorry.
Seriously?
Sorry, mate. No.
Does Jim know?
Clearly, I'm needed.
Yeah. Does
Maybe
Jim
not
know?
wanted. Oh, of course. Made damn sure he knows. Look, I'm going to start by talking about someone that you and I spoke about when he first landed in this country, which is Ten Hag. And Ten Hag's done a lot of press conferences recently that seem to be the blind leading the deaf, where he makes observations that don't seem to be anything resembling what's gone on the pitch or what's going on full stop. We talked about Ten Hag at the beginning, and I'd made this observation about him being a small man in a big suit and didn't seem to have the prestige and stature to be able to manage this club. Where are you on Ten Hag 18 months in now?
I think he took on a monster job. You know, Man United have been in the doldrums for over a decade now in terms of where they want to be and should be and where they were for 25 years under Fergie. A big job. Have things got any better? And I think he has to hold his hands up and say some of the players have not lived up to expectations, paid over the odds for them. But that,
Well, you mean Anthony?
Anthony, yeah.
Yeah. And your mate, Steady Eddie?
Yeah.
Casemiro?
Well, I just think they're still not getting their football decisions right. If you're looking at their biggest rival, historically the biggest rival,
Liverpool,
and now their same city rival,
right,
they're getting their football decisions right. Man United have not done that for over a decade now, and they are where they are because of that.
But when you hear him, Gray, and you hear Ten Hag talking,
he's talking positives all the time.
Sure, but I mean, which is, I suppose it's better than talking negatives. But isn't there an air of ridiculousness? I mean, he said the other day that if he'd have had the availability of players, i.e. he's lost a lot of players during injury during this period of time, he'd have won 75 of the 100 games or whatever games he's played. Now, that would have been a record that eclipses the level that Ferguson operates at.
Well,
that would be a record that eclipses the level that Guardiola operates at in terms of 75%.
Not with that group of players he's got, not a chance. I mean, I don't know. He won't be kidding the players. He won't be kidding people who know about football. He's being positive. He's trying to put a positive spin on it. And it's difficult if you're trotting that out every week and you're not getting the results. I mean, at the weekend, they won against Everton, but they were poor. It was a fortunate one. 2 penalties, huffed and puffed most of the game.
And if Everton had a decent striker or players that were less profligate,
they're always going to be held up and compared with Liverpool and Man City. You know, one 35 miles down the road or whatever it is, one a couple of miles.
Well, they're going to be held up and compared to Man United sides of previous years, aren't they?
And that, and their history. So right now they're a long way off. Jim Ratcliffe coming in, will he keep him? If I was a better man, I'd say no.
Do you think he was the right man for the job in the first instance? Because you've taken him out of Ajax with their brand of football. I don't know. Do you buy into this? I mean, I don't know if you'll follow me on this journey of philosophies, because I just think this overused expression of philosophies that people come in and turn around and say the object of a coach is to make players better and produce a winning side. And if you've got good enough players, you make the team really entertaining and easy on the eye. But this thought process of philosophies, because he comes in from Ajax and they recruit him, do you think that with that background, that he was the right person for the job in the first instance?
Listen, if you had walked into a Man United, a dressing room full of top players, he might have been the right man. But so his job is manager stroke coach stroke being in charge of recruitment. The most important thing you have to get right at a football club is recruitment. Indeed. They've not done that. And they've huffed and puffed, and with that brings the pressure. You know, like a football decision. You don't have an infinite amount of money to spend. They had a budget to work with, so you're going to spend, was it circa 70 million on a goalkeeper because you wanted to play more from the back. Now, De Gea...
But isn't that market price, though, Greg? I mean, you've got Liverpool paying 75 million quid for Edison.
You prioritise. You've got to pick You've got to try and strengthen where you feel you really, really need players. Did they really, really need to spend 70 million on a goalkeeper when like De Gea, who would have been still and was a very good goalkeeper from Man United? Could that 70 million?
I don't think he'd run his course. De Gea, it was beginning to. The statistics were beginning to show.
Well,
I mean, you talk about Jordan Pickford being a bombshell going off. David De Gea was beginning to throw in goals left, right, and centre.
I just say De Gea was still a top goalkeeper. I mean, every goalkeeper will make mistakes. Was he the same goalkeeper that walked through the door? If you remember, he had a difficult start, and ended up winning
a long time ago.
Ended up winning about 5 Matt Busby Player of the Seasons awards.
Couldn't catch a ball, could he? At first?
Yeah, but he was a bit Pat Jennings-ish. He stopped balls with his feet and legs and stuff.
Right.
But for a goalkeeper, that is the aim.
Crosses he had a problem with first, wasn't it?
Keeping the ball out of the net. I think why he went to Onana, is that how you say it? Onana? Yeah. It was because he was better with the ball, is better with the ball at his feet. And the point I'm trying to make is you spend 70 million on that because you want to play differently. Are they really playing any differently now? Because he's better with the ball at the back. I'm thinking the 70 million. In my world, that 70 could have been spent elsewhere and been more productive by spending 70 million on another striker, another midfield player. I just think the recruitment's been pretty average.
When you talk about the idea that these players, not with this group of players, right? So last year, this group of players gets him a League Cup win, gets him a Champions League berth, right? This, and everyone expects him to kick on, right? So put aside the price tags, he needs a goalkeeper, right? So if it doesn't worry Man United what they spend, it shouldn't worry us. So if they bought Onana for 40 million quid, then the argument would be they still needed a goalkeeper because De Gea, for whatever reason, had fallen out of favour. They went and buy the boy up top, Rasmus Højlund. Do you think, given your argument and debate, that they not with this group of players are going to win leagues? I'm not expecting Man United to win the league at the moment. I'm expecting Man United to be better than 6th or 7th. Where they're 7th now? 7th, right?
If they had everyone fit, would they be better off? Possibly.
But isn't that the same for everybody?
Yeah, but that's what I was about to say. That is part of the deal. If you're a football manager, you know you're going to have injuries throughout the season. The fact if they had kept everyone fit all the time, which doesn't happen, how much better off would they be? Not the numbers that he's quoting. But so I think Man United right now are a country mile behind the city rival Liverpool and Arsenal, and I would suggest they're behind Tottenham as well and Villa, which I think the table shows that. They're where they should be.
We had the Manchester derby recently, and when you look at United's squad, moving on from the argument about what he's getting from them and what he hasn't got and who he's bought and he hasn't bought, have we reached the point with Man United that there's not a single Man United player that would get in the Man City side?
That's where they are, yeah.
And then the argument moves on. Have we reached a point where not a single Manchester United player would get in the Liverpool sides or the Arsenal sides?
I think we are. I think the one who's got real talent is Fernandes. He's got super talent, but there's things about them that frustrate you. His arm waving, showing disappointment.
I think he's getting better, though. I think he's showing the memos.
Showing disappointment too readily. Him in a different environment, playing with better players, I think he would get in both the City squad and the Liverpool squad. Would he be in the first 11? Not so sure about that, but he's got qualities, that boy. Real qualities. Well, you're a businessman.
Allegedly.
Historically, you've been a businessman. You like every business, you've made money and you've lost money.
Correct. Yeah.
What's Jim Ratcliffe going to do at Man United?
I think he's going to bring some common sense and some discipline into the proceedings because clearly, over the last 10 years, United's problem, as you have alluded to, and you've just mentioned repeatedly about recruitment, is because people that have been there haven't focused on making sure that the diligence behind every acquisition meets the expectation of a player that's capable of playing for Man United and gets the idea that playing for Man United comes with a responsibility, and B, that they make sure that the standards in the football operation are at a level where there's accountability and there's best-in-class operation. Now, Radcliffe, there's nothing wrong with Man United economically and commercially. The Glazers have been able to rinse every last penny out of every single commercial that they've ever been able to do, and some could say that's admirable. Where the problem clearly lies is they've spent 1.6 billion net on transfer fees over a 10-year period since they've been in situ after Ferguson, and they've spent it badly.
But that would be the only criticism I have of them. Taking a dividend, they're hard-nosed American businessmen. They got an asset. It's a cash cow. It provides so much money coming in. Can take care of their debt without a problem.
But that's their job.
How about the relationship with the fans? Do you think that's a...
Well, listen, in an ideal world, you have a perfect relationship between owner and fans. In the real world, it's not an easy one to achieve unless you've decided that you're going to be Roman Abramovich and you're going to spend whatever you feel like spending, whatever motivation you have. Unless you're like Sheikh Mansour and do the same thing. If you're a top club, your expectation is that you spend enormous amounts of money, irrespective of the consequences of it, and you're expected to win. Now, the Glazers compound that by the refusal to communicate with the fan base and the manner in which they bought the football club. So they buy it with everyone else's money, then they loan it with debt.
You know how business works. They didn't go to a bank. They must have had to put some collateral up to get the football club.
Well, the idea is that the Glazers put up 200 million quid of their own money.
So they risked losing 200 million.
But they didn't. And here's the next part of the argument that gets debated, which is actually they didn't even start with 200 million quid of their own money. They borrowed that 200 million quid against assets in America. So they've actually gone in there for nothing. Yeah, now, if it's a business deal...
risk losing something.
Well, they risk losing some security. But hold on a second. You put 200 million quid in Man United. The worst case scenario, Man United's got to be worth more than 200 million quid. Otherwise, you're going to be out of pocket. So at no point were the Glazers ever going to be in a situation, even if they borrowed that 200 million quid.
So they're smart.
They're brilliant. I mean,
businessmen.
This is the deal of all deals.
Yeah.
That's why there's a book written by this Chris Blackhurst, which is a brilliant book called The World's Biggest Cash Machine. Because it is.
Let me tell you a story. I'm manager of Rangers. The chap Michael Knighton ends up in Glasgow, talks to David Murray. David Murray shakes his hand on buying 72% of Man United for 12 million quid. Shook hands on it. Michael Knighton had an option to take Edward's share.
Yep.
For, I think it was 12 million quid.
I know.
Woke up the following morning and changed his mind.
I remember. I remember him juggling in front of the Stretford end, and Michael Knighton still talks about that
First day of the season.
Whilst he ran Carlisle.
See, my criticism of the Glazers would be this. Not that they take a dividend, not that they don't communicate with supporters, that they didn't realise quickly, very quickly, Ed Woodward wasn't up to the job of managing the football side of Man United.
But again, if you're looking at it from the Glazers' point of view, I'm playing devil's advocate for the purpose of this conversation between you and I. Who gives a We're printing money. Now what's happening is Ratcliffe has come in. They wanted a certain amount of money back from this business. They've managed to achieve £1 billion. Don't forget Ratcliffe has put £1 billion into this business, if indeed that's his own money, and if indeed he hasn't borrowed it against United shares. And it's gone straight into Glazers' pockets. And Man United have received no benefit from this right now. The Glazers have. If you're the Glazers, you've achieved precisely what you wanted to achieve, but you've now landed in a space where you're beginning to see that your commercial opportunities are going to be degraded by your team's consistent lack of performance. So that's why the Ratcliffe area, and don't forget Ratcliffe's
but you can't say that Ratcliffe sees it, the Glazers didn't see it. Glazers didn't
care.
But they should have done. They should have seen
why? If you're
3,000 miles away,
if you're the Glazers,
the thing was going backwards.
Great. If you're the Glazers and you're a businessman and you couldn't give a about English football besides the opportunity it presents to you, you've just invested nothing. You've received back hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds and just got somebody fool enough to pay £1 billion for 29%.
The Glazers did not invest in Man United. They still made money available. So my point
Man United's own money.
Yeah, but the point I'm making is that they saw what was happening.
But they abdicated...
Bad football decisions. The club was stagnating, if not going backwards.
They could have had it all. They could have had a winning side and spent the same money.
If they got rid of Ed Woodward earlier.
Right. It's not just Woodward, because Woodward is their responsibility. They recruited him. They allowed him to run. So it's on them. Right?
That's my point.
But the point is, if you're a businessman rather than a football person, you look at that and go, well, what do I care? I'm still taking hundreds of millions. I bought a football club for nothing. I geared it with their own money. I used their money to pay for everything. I took dividends and interest servicing payments, and I've just sold 25% of it for £1 billion, plus the hundreds of... I'm golden. Now they've changed their tack because Ratcliffe is coming in, looking at the situation, saying the next evolution of opportunity for Man United needs to include on the field stuff. So what will happen with Ratcliffe is he will either be very good at what he says he's going to be. Brailsford won't be an imposter like Clive Woodward was when he came into English football and thought he was going to impress upon everybody's view. He'll either be good, and maybe you'll get Dougie Freedman and other people in and around him that will be giving some technical knowledge around the football operation. It'll either be a success or it won't. But what it will be is it'll be 10% better than it is now. Now, if that 10% is the difference between Man United being in
7th, 8th.
and maybe winning the league. We need, in order for United to regain their composure, it needs a 10% decline in Manchester City and Liverpool and a 10% increase in Man United. And maybe that happens when Guardiola departs. Maybe it happens when Klopp departs, despite our discussions about it's a turnkey for Liverpool. Anyone walks into Liverpool space.
Is it the hardest job in English football right now?
Yeah. And it has been for a long time, because more people if Man City win a game and Man United lose a game, more people will talk about Man United losing a game than Man City winning a game.
That's the price of the ticket of being one of the biggest football clubs in the world.
Absolutely.
So you're Jim Ratcliffe.
Yeah.
You're going to stick or twist with Ten Hag?
I honestly don't know, and it's not me sitting on the fence. I think a lot depends on how he runs this season out and what I think he represents. For me, sitting remotely, no. I've started from the outset believing that Ten Hag doesn't have the chops for this job. Now, that's also laced with the idea, when you ask me, well, who does then? I go, not sure. My gut feel says, no, I wouldn't. My gut feel is that they will for a period of time. What about you?
No, I think they will have made their mind up already.
Do you?
I think they will have made their mind up already.
And what do you think that is?
That there'll be a change at Man United.
Do you think so?
There'll be a new coach in place next year.
Any idea who you might think that would be?
No. Unless they go on the most amazing run and find themselves in the top 4. But I come back to it, that group of players, I think what you get with average players, you get up and down performances. You know, they've got away with it.
Do you agree with that decision? And in that process, I mean, new broom sweep clean, right? And they changed their minds. Do you agree with the thinking behind that?
His argument will be that we had lots of injuries. But every manager can point to injuries over a season. I think what will cause them difficulty or danger with the people now making the decisions will be that the players he's brought in. And I think the spin he's trying to put on their performances is they will see through that.
All right. So to finish off this episode, if we are looking at Ratcliffe coming in and Ten Hag being changed potentially, I had this soppy conversation, off the record briefing from Ed Woodward that I don't know why we had to be party to. We wanted to have a conversation with me and Jim to tell us what he thought on his way out the door. And I asked him, are United going to be in a better situation, and when do you see them winning the league again? And his argument was that we'll win it in 5 years, within 5 years. Where do you think, how long do you think it will be for United to cement themselves back at the top of the Premier League?
If you think financial fair play will come into play, I know they are a cash cow. I know they present, their numbers are enormous.
Yep. In football terms.
Given that you have 2 opportunities a year to improve your lot, will it take 6 transfer? If they got everything right. Everything went right. 4 transfer windows, 2 years. If they don't
you think they could win the league against the current crop of Liverpool and Man City and Arsenal?
So for them to get it right, if they had all the luck going and every signing worked out for them, you're talking about 4 transfer windows, maybe 2 or 3 players in each window, and then the momentum they'll get going because they're United. But I think it's a couple of years. 2 transfer windows a year. It's a couple of years if they got absolutely everything right. It's about spending lots and lots of money.
It's about spending top money, but it's also about spending it right.
Well,
we've seen Chelsea spend £1 billion and get nowhere.
Yeah, well, they've spent £1 billion in what? Inside 2 years.
Chelsea, that's my point. So it's not necessarily just about how much you spend, it's about what you spend it on.
Could Man United not spend £1 billion inside 2 years?
No, I don't think so. I don't think they'd have the motivation to do such. The only way they'd spend that kind of dough is if they shipped a lot of players out and got a lot of income coming back in.
I know Jim Ratcliffe is talking about long term. That's putting a bit of an insurance policy down. He'll want it yesterday. This is a man who's super rich. He wants everything yesterday.
Absolutely.
He's used to getting his way. So
but
he's
a minority shareholder.
Yeah, but he's now closely associated with it. He is now the face of Man United. For him, he's used to getting his own way. He won't have a 10-year plan.
Well, we'll see. We'll see about Jim Ratcliffe, because the journey of Ineos into sport, with Nice and with cycling and with other sports hasn't been great. Yeah, I mean, he wasn't great in the Admiral's Cup, was he? So we'll see. We'll see. But they're going to have to spend some dough, but more importantly, they're going to have to spend it properly, and they're going to have to, in your view, have a different manager in the dugout. We'll see. Right, that's it for episode 13 of Simon and Souness. Look forward to seeing you next time we're out.